Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Inside Track, EchoBase's weekly handicapping podcast, sponsored by FanDuel Racing, where we give our analysis, picks, and wagers for a couple of the weekend's top races. I'm your host, Ben Kudla, and today I welcome back the CEO and co-founder of Pramana Lab Statlines, Corey Patton, on the show for our Kentucky Oaks and Kentucky Derby special. Be sure to check out Statlines' top plays on the EchoBase homepage, as well as Statlines for every race, every day, at every track across North America. Corey, we have not had a show together since early March for the San Felipe with you, me, and Dan, the man Torgman, but so great to have you back on the show to talk about the two greatest minutes in sports. But unfortunately, you seem a little bit on the injured reserve list.
Yeah, I'm on layup right now. I have quite a few injuries, one being this left arm. So you'll see it. Those that are watching on the podcast will see there's a giant bandage on this left arm. But we're all good. We're on the mend, on the way back. But could not help but come on for Derby week, Ben. The best week of the year for me, for you, for everybody that loves horse racing the way we do. And yeah, that San Felipe was the last time I was on. I think I'll have something to say about one of the competitors in there today.
Yeah, old journalism. But before we dive into this fantastic show, the Kentucky Derby is almost here, and you can get in on all the Derby Day action with FanDuel. That's right. You can bet the big race without leaving the Sportsbook app. So what are you waiting for? Download the app and bet America's #1 race with America's #1 sportsbook right now.
First pick in the 2025 Sportsbook Draft, FanDuel selects the Kentucky Derby.
New customers get a no-sweat first bet up to $500 on the Kentucky Derby with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook.
You know, off topic, they didn't even ask me to say this, but I do only use FanDuel to bet, and that was just a random occurrence. So it is a fantastic platform. I generally do like to bet with it. But anyway, let's just move on to today's show. All things Churchill Downs, going over the 1.5 million Grade 1 Kentucky Oaks, the 5 million Grade 1 Kentucky Derby, the 600,000 Grade 2 Pat Day Mile, and the $1 million Derby City Distaff. So here we go. The Kentucky Oaks, race 11 on Friday with a post time of 5:51 p.m. Eastern, a mile and an eighth on the dirt for 3-year-old fillies. Last year's winner was, of course, Torpedo Anna at odds of 4-1 for trainer Kenny McPeak, with Brian Hernandez Jr. aboard, who also won last year's Derby. Same connections with Mystic Dan. And of course, Torpedo Anna went on to be crowned your 2024 Horse of the Year. Now, diving into some stats. Since 1991, the average winning EchoBase speed figure in the Kentucky Oaks is a 105.36. The largest margin in Kentucky Oaks history belongs to Rachel Alexander, who romped by 20 1/4 lengths in 2009. She also earned the highest EchoBase speed figure since 1991 with a 121. So, Corey, bring it to you. Will Kenny and Brian Hernandez Jr. repeat with Take Charge Milady in here, or are you going with a different direction?
Well, I'm going with Kenny and Brian again, which, I mean, when I handicapped this thing, I came through and I said, everybody wants that connection, that magic connection to come through again this year. It's kind of the sentimental thing after taking home the Oaks Derby double last year. And I just loved the last race of Take Charge Milady. And at 12-1, that's really juicy in comparison to that 6-5 Brad Cox horse. So I know there's some interesting up-to-the-minute information about Take Charge Milady, but I really think that this horse is going to, if she gets in the starting gate, I'm excited about this horse running and how it's going to win, I think, this year. So, look, they obviously won it last year, Torpedo Anna, which is good, so they've proven they can do this. Ran in that Ashland, and I think that was the super impressive race. So that day, I went back on April 7th, and that was a tremendously speed-favoring track that day. All 4 route races on dirt were won right on the pace. And Lacara won the Ashland wire to wire, but it was close at the very end. And Take Charge came from 7th at the half mile to come up that rail and was gaining with every stride on that loose front runner. I think the additional distance for the Oaks, some pace pressure on Lacara from Tenma and others. If Take Charge can find a trip, I really like her at 12-1. So, a couple of things here. Kenny McPeak has gone from the Ashland to the Oaks, Oaks route 9 times, never winning with that move, finishing second twice. His last 3 were kind of 7th, 8th, and 12th. So I'm going to give him a little grace on that one. McPeak and Hernandez, they're 4 of 9, 44% together in dirt route races the past 21 days. So that's pretty good. So they're hitting together. I mean, they always do, but they're on fire as of late. Her 103 Equibase speed figure in that race in the Ashland was the 4th fastest of any 3-year-old stakes non-winner, male or female, in the past 5 days that is yet to run back, right? And if you look at that last workout, that was a blistering on the 25th of April, was a blistering 59.40 7 days before the race. Coincidentally, last year, Torpedo Anna's final workout for the Oaks was, you guessed it, 7 days out, the exact same 59.4. He has a training pattern coming into this race, and I'm hoping it ends up in the winner's circle.
Definitely the speed favoring track that day at Keeneland. I live in Lexington. I was obviously out there. It was insane. Like, nobody was losing off the front end. Not to knock Lacara, she ran a fantastic race. But you're right. Take Charge Milady was kind of charging down the lane there at the end. She was actually my first pick at the very beginning to try to beat Good Cheer. Unfortunately, right before the show, I did have to tell you that she has a quarter crack. It could be a race day decision for Kenny McPeak. Regardless, that kind of put me off. For even if they do run her, is she going to be 100%? So I kind of went a different route. I went on the outside with Quiet Side with the morning line of 8-1. Going to try to beat Good Cheer in here. A Malibu Moon filly for the John Ortiz barn with Jose Ortiz aboard. No relation. Love Jose Ortiz. Won the 2019 Kentucky Oaks aboard Serengeti Empress. Jose and Quiet Side are 2 for 2 together. He rode her for the first time in the Grade 3 Honeybee Stakes at Oaklawn Park in February, running a 98 Equibase speed figure, winning by a length, going a mile and 16th on the dirt over 5G, who came back to win the Grade 2 Gulfstream Park Oaks by 2 1/4 lengths. So 5G is the 8 in here, by the way, for trainer George Weaver. Following the Honeybee Stakes, Quiet Side and Jose Ortiz won the Grade 2 Fantasy Stakes, last time out by 3/4 of a length over Simply Joking, who before that race was undefeated from 2 starts, both in stakes races. Simply Joking is the number 2 in here on Friday. Quiet Side earned a career best 100 Equibase speed figure for that. So here's some stat lines for you. Since 1991, 6 Kentucky Oaks winners previously ran in the Fantasy Stakes, including both Torpedo Anna and Rachel Alexandra. Another horse who won the Fantasy Stakes was 8 Bells. Went on to finish second in the 2008 Kentucky Derby. So going back to Quiet Side, this is just ultra consistent filly, 100% in the money lifetime record from 7 starts, 3 wins, 3 seconds, and a third. Just never really run bad in her career. Broke her maiden by 6 1/4 lengths in the maiden special weight Saratoga in August before running a very game second by 1 1/4 lengths to Breeders' Cup champion Immersive in the Grade 1 Spinaway Stakes on a muddy, sealed Saratoga track. That could be very important on Friday. Runs third again to none other than Immersive in the Grade 1 All-C Beatis at Keeneland in October. Then runs second to Kentucky Oaks morning line favorite Good Cheer in the Grade 2 Goldenrod at Churchill. Quiet Side, honestly, was the only horse that was even remotely competitive that day with Good Cheer. Finished second, 6 lengths over third place finisher Eclaton, who won the Grade 3 Forward Gal Stakes by a length and a quarter in her next start. She did run poorly in the Martha Washington after the Goldenrod. No excuse, losing by 5 3/4 lengths to your Take Charge Milady. However, not even at her best. Quiet Side was able to run second. And after that race, she wins the Honeybee and the Fantasy. So ranked second in here with average class of a 90. Really nice Equibase speed figure progression, 72 to an 87 to an 83, 98, and then 100 last time out. Worked really well recently at Oaklawn and Keeneland. In her last 6 works, she has 3 bullet works, all going 5 furlongs in less than a minute. Yeah. Jeez. Ran well in her only start on the Churchill dirt. Ran really well in her only start in the wet dirt in the Grade 1 Spinaway. Looked really nice at Churchill this past week. 8-1, I think, is a fantastic price. We're probably going to get it with Good Cheer, but I want to hear what your opinion on Good Cheer before I have something to say.
I mean, look, honestly, okay. So what needs to be said about Brad Cox, right? He's won this race twice. Philly's undefeated. Can sit anywhere early and finish. 3 for 3 at Churchill. I'm not sure how great the last 2 starts were. Stake starts at Fairgrounds were. I'm not sure, but look, it has every right to be the favorite in here. But at 6-5 on a day like the Oaks Day, I just don't know that I can take that. I can't swallow that price ever, really. So you try to find a way to beat her. I think if you're not going with Take Charge Milady, if the quarter cracks, either she scratches or she even gets in the gate after what you're telling me now, I really do think that you have to look outside at Quiet Side. But I think there's another one in here that's missing that you have to really put in there as well. That's Simply Joking horse, the 2 horse at 10-1. Couple of things. Look, if the track turns out to be a little bit off on Friday, which it's likely to be, looking at the weather potentially, look at that race and the Silver Bullet Day at Fairgrounds. Won that race by a couple of lengths. Beat the Drexel Hill horse that may be talked about here in a second. So it can handle the off track. And also look at the jock switch there. It's a big jock upgrade from Jose Torres to, nothing wrong with Torres, but from Torres to Florent Giroux, that's a big upgrade, right? And I think that Giroux knows how to run this race. I think that you at 10-1, that's a really good price. I think that 58.4 on April 19th says ready. So Simply Joking may be a horse to look at on the inside, and may find that inside kind of sealed track to her liking. We'll see.
No, definitely has the right post for her running style. Just looking at her, and we were talking before the show. You were right. I was all in on her at the beginning of the year, but she might just be a miler. She just really might be. Which kind of brings me to my next point of Drexel Hill, the other D. Whitworth Beckman horse. Really interesting at 30-1. Bolt Diora filly. So old Ben Curtis gets the mount Friday. Who's been a very dangerous rider in these Oaks and Derby preps this year, it seems. Together, Drexel Hill and Ben Curtis won the Busher Stakes last time at Aqueduct. That was a 50-point Oaks prep. And honestly, that race is basically the only reason I like this filly. She had a tough break, stumbling at the start. Was last going out of the chute. It was a chute, not 2 turns. Going to the final turn, she was moving and grooving, passing horses, went 4 wide on the final turn before ducking inside. And she just kind of looked dead. Looked like she was going to hang like a shirt, but she just kept on very nicely and then split horses to win by 3/4 of length. I thought that was very, very impressive. What a performance to come off of going into the Oaks. Started her career up there in Canada, Woodbine over the all-weather before switching to the Beckman barn in December. Has yet to win going 2 turns, which is a concern, but I think this filly will run her heart out on Friday and could get up for second or third. So at 30-1 on a vertical, I'm definitely going to add her in some trifectas and try to key her there. And honestly, I might even get more than 30-1 on her. So
yeah, you very well might. One horse in here and it's rare that we do these preps for the Oaks and the Derby without talking about the Baffert entrant.
Yeah.
Tenma. What are your thoughts on Tenma?
Obviously coming off 3 really nice wins there, all in graded stakes races. I just don't think she's really had the company yet. The tests, obviously Bob Baffert and Juan Hernandez are insane together in stakes races and graded stakes races. No need to go over all those 40% numbers, but I'll just say it now. It's the same reason why I'm off journalism. These horses only running in Cali, coming to a turf, very deep dirt, surface at Churchill and in the wet. I just don't see it. I'm kind of betting on these conditions, if you will, but very talented filly nonetheless. And I'm surprised 12-1 morning line. I would assume you'll get a little less than that, but with good cheer, probably taking all the money, then you might get 10-1 on Tenma.
A little stat about your West Coast to East Coast, and trust me, there's been plenty of West Coast runners that have done very well in the Derby.
There are.
The last Santa Anita Oaks to Kentucky Oaks winner was Abel Tasman in 2017 for, you guessed it, Bob Baffert. So it's been a while since you've had a Santa Anita Oaks to Kentucky Oaks winner, but that's, I looked at. I agree with you. I'm not sure that the running lines in the company are quite as good as some of the other horses in here, but it's Bob Baffert on a big weekend at Churchill. You can't throw him out completely.
Oh, 100%. Another horse I was really interested in, probably the one I'm most scared of leaving out of my top 3 is Lucara. That Street Sense filly, Mark Cassie with Dylan Davis aboard through that 105 in the Ashland, like we talked about. Just she's very inconsistent though, and she's due for a bad race on her running lines, kind of. So we'll see. I think she'll probably be. I think she'll be second choice.
I think she's a quality filly. I'm just looking at that speed favoring Keeneland track and say, I'm gonna take a few points off of that number based on that, to be honest.
Yeah. Well, and to try to repeat that.
Yeah.
Going from an 80 to a 105.
And it's going to have company on the front.
Oh yeah. A lot of company on the front end. So,
I don't think it'll be quite the loose lead this time. So
and the only time she was on the slot, she finished 6 by 10 3/4 lengths.
Look at that.
Which is at Churchill. So, but anyway, that was a fun race to handicap, but yeah, good cheer could just be
Well, I mean, and
It
let's
could be like Rachel. I mean,
let's be honest. It was an allowance race at Churchill, way back in September of last year. But look at that sloppy track.
Yeah.
17 lengths, so can handle
17 lengths. Oh, hold on. I wrote it down. What did she want by combined? Something. I can't do all that math in my head right now. Oh, maybe I didn't. But I think it was like 42, combined 42 lengths or something, and all 6 starts winning. It's just.
Well, we've talked about every horse but her, so she's going to end up in the winner's circle today, on Friday.
I mean, I'm definitely adding her in. That would be a bad move, not putting her in your ticket.
Exactly.
But anyway, before we begin for the Derby, Triple Crown season is here, and so are the savings. Now through June 8th, take advantage of a quarterly Raceland subscription or quarterly premium pass performance subscription for just $99 with those promo codes below. For premium pass performances, use TCEQB99, and for a quarterly Raceland subscription for just $99, use TCRL99. All right, here we go. Best time of the year, the 151st running of the Grade 1 Kentucky Derby, 1.25 miles on the dirt for 3-year-olds. Last year's winner was Mystic Dan from post position 3 for trainer Kenny McPeak with Brian Hernandez Jr. aboard. Since 1991, the average winning Equibase speed figure in the Derby is a 110.7. Largest margin of victory since 1991 was Mind That Bird, who ran off by 6 3/4 lengths in 2009 for trainer Benny Woolley with Calvin Burrell aboard, odds of 50-1. The highest Equibase speed figure since 1991 was Barbaro, who earned a 127 for a 6.5 length victory in the 2006 Kentucky Derby. Rest in peace to the late, great Barbaro. The winningest trainer in Kentucky Derby history is a tie between Ben Jones and Bob Baffert, both with 6 wins apiece. The winningest jockey in Kentucky Derby history is also a tie between Eddie Arcaro and Bill Hartack, both with 5 wins apiece. Fun fact about Bill Hartack, only rode in 12 Kentucky Derbies, won 5 of them. Wild. I mean, but anyway, that's back in the 40s. So there have been a total of 13 Triple Crown winners in history, with the most recent being Justify. Big day is almost here. Who is your pick for the Run for the Roses?
God, I love this race. I
know. God, everything about it.
Huh?
Everything about it. The whole atmosphere, the whole state right now. Church, it's so special.
It's unbelievable. And, you end up with people that have never watched a race or don't watch but once a year. They really actually get into this. And that you and I love the sport so much that it just tickles me to see people during the Derby week get excited about horse racing this much. And I think it's amazing. I think this year is a very interesting race. Usually I come in and I find some way to beat the favorite. I'll talk about that in a second, but I do think I'm going to talk about a little bit about how the race sets up, which I think is key to this year's effort. I think this race falls apart. I think the pace will be hot, and I think it'll be particularly hot. And I think you've got a couple of horses that just have no other way. And I mean, starts at the rail, starts with Citizen Bull from the rail, kind of has to go from the rail. That's a terrible spot to be in the Derby. Traditionally, it's brutal. You have to get out or else you're going to get pinched no matter what. So you have to go from the rail. Neo Equus has only one way of running, has to go in the 2-hole. Rodriguez has only run his best races when he gets the lead. So he'll go from the 4, right? So the 1, the 2, the 4 all have to go. I mean, if American Promise.
Maybe I was about to say that, and the 5
have to go. If American Promise attempts to carve out anything like the 108 and change and the 133 in the Virginia Derby, he'll end up somewhere near the lead. East Avenue is only good when on the lead. Owen Almighty only wins when on the pace. So right there's 6 horses that have to go. So I don't think you'll end up with a leisurely pace. So I think it's going to be kind of hot. I think it'll be fast. I think in this case, a stalker or a closer is going to pick up the pieces and win this one. And I wish I was more creative. But look, those of you watching, you can probably see the UNC Chapel Hill journalism degree on my wall behind me. I love that in 2025, journalism is going to probably win this race. I love the name. I love the horse. I think it's by far the best horse in the race. And
I agree.
It's the only horse in here with 4 triple-figure Equibase speed figures and 4 consecutive triple-figure Equibase speed figures leading up to the race, including a 110. He's done all his winning against short fields in the West, where front runners usually dominate in those small fields. You can look at it as a good thing or a bad thing, but to come off the pace and win in all 4 of your races against 5-horse fields, that says something to me. And I think he's beaten all the Baffords, including Gaming, winner of the Grade 1 Del Mar Futurity, also second in the Grade 1 Breeders' Cup Juvenile. And, we will talk about the Pat Day Mile in a minute. Also, multiple graded stakes place getaway car, Rodriguez, the winner of the Grade 1 Wood Memorial, and the rail horse in here, plus that much heralded, somewhat disappointing Barnes. But that horse has faced all the best Baffords, has faced Grade 1 winners, and that was out Futurity. Getaway car had it all his own way, and Journalism went wide the entire race to pull away in the stretch. In the San Felipe, Barnes had it all his own way on the front end. Super comfortable pace. Rodriguez second. Journalism swept wide, made that eye-catching move down the lane, won the race there. In the Santa Anita Derby, Citizen Bull had the lead in the stretch. Journalism had a really rough trip on the rail, had to take up a couple of times before sweeping wide, switching out, and then running down Baeza, who we'll talk about in a second. I mean, this McCarthy had his first Derby starter with Endlessly last year, finished ninth. I think he comes back with the favorite, and a favorite for good reason. And I think Journalism is so adaptable to the race and to where he sits, and can come home strongly enough that I think even though he's going to be the favorite, it's hard to go against that horse. I think it's the best horse in the race. And I think if he gets a trip, which is always the case, there's enough speed to set up him coming from a mid-pack move and sweeping wide down the lane and picking everybody up. That's my pick. It's not super creative, but I think it's the best horse in the race, and the race should set up for him.
No, there's a good chance you're right. And that post 8, could he not have asked for more of a perfect position to be for that type of running style with all these fast horses around him? So he's just going to be alone.
Correct.
I mean,
so perfect trip might sit the perfect trip. Yeah. But again, everything in the Derby depends on that start. And you may have the best horse in the race, and the gate may get him, but we'll see. I think it's the best horse, and in this race, the best horse I think wins this race.
Yeah, I agree. I was able to cash on him in all 3 of those graded stakes races. Hopefully, you all watched the inside track for those weeks about Journalism. Yeah, no knocks. I mean, I've fought hard to kind of put my pick out there, and I can't knock him. And even that last race, you could say, how did he get in trouble in a 5-horse field? But that was kind of some race riding by Flavian Pratt, and he's able to overcome that as well. He's been looking so fantastic on the backstretch at Churchill since he arrived last week. Just wow. And so going back to Grade 2 Los Alamitos Futurity, the biggest reason I picked him was McCarthy and Rispoli. Past 3 years with horses who won their most recent race, he went at 44%.
Yeah,
44% plus 42% return on investment. Ever since then, he's just wow. So he 100% is the best horse in this race. 3-1 probably is pretty accurate, I would say.
Yeah.
For a morning line, I wouldn't really see a Derby horse get below that, but I could be wrong. That being said, I'm definitely gonna add him in there, but I'm gonna go for a 30-1 shot because I think it's either gonna be Journalism or something crazy. Okay. I'm going to go with the 16 Coal Battle, morning line of 30-1. I was actually shocked to see a morning line of 30-1 on this horse. Coal Battle. And it's not just the story. I'll explain
our previous picks in these prep races, my friend.
I know. Well, it's all about timing's everything. But, I mean, how could you not love the story of this? It's not the reason I picked him, but Lonnie Briley, 72-year-old veteran trainer based in Louisiana, earned his first ever career graded stakes victory with Coal Battle after 34 years training thoroughbred racehorses. That Grade 2 Rebel Stakes at Oaklawn in late February was his very first one with the veteran jockey Juan Vargas. First graded stakes victory in over 11 years as well. Coal Battle won the Rebel by a length and a quarter over Mataket Road. Sandman got second, came back to win the Arkansas Derby his next start. Publisher finished third. He's a 13 in here. Tistastic finished fourth and came back to win the Grade 2 Louisiana Derby next out in the 14 in here on Derby Day. So ultra impressive win over some really, really talented 3-year-olds in the Rebel. And he earned a 104 Echo-Base speed figure for that performance. And prior to the Rebel, he had 4 stakes wins on dirt. 3 of those being Kentucky Derby points races. The Jean Lafitte Stakes, that wasn't as at Delta Downs, but over a muddy track. Won the Remington Springboard Mile Stakes at odds of 6-1. Won the Smarty Jones Stakes by 4 lengths. With third place finisher in that race, Kale's Angel, coming back to win back-to-back stakes races after her Smarty Jones loss. His only loss from 6 starts on the dirt was last time out in the Grade 1 Arkansas Derby, where he finished third by 7 lengths to Sandman and Publisher. But some stat lines for you. Since 1991, there have been 7 Kentucky Derby winners who previously ran in the Arkansas Derby. And one special name comes to mind. 2024 Kentucky Derby winner, Mystic Dan, also finished 3rd in the Arkansas Derby before going on to win the Run for the Roses. So maybe the stars are aligning for the racing gods on this one. In the Arkansas Derby, Colt, he did look really good at the top of the stretch, led for a few moments. Can't really see that in the points of call before being overtaken by Sandman. But after that race, Lonnie Briley said he would have liked another work before that race, and Cole Battle was just not ready. I won't cross that race off, but I'll give a mild excuse. All-time Lonnie Briley only has 1 career start at Churchill Downs. That was on May 5th, 2022, and finished 12th, 56-1 in that race. He did just work 3 furlongs, on Monday, April 28th, which could be a bad sign, could be cause for concern. But he also breezed just 3 furlongs prior to his Rebel Stakes win. I did some digging on Pramana Labs Shift. What a fantastic tool that is. And, it is very unpopular to work just 3 furlongs prior to the Derby as the last work. But the last horse to do that was Big Brown, 2008. So it's been done. And that's the first horse to ever win from post 20. So definitely not the fastest of the bunch or as the best late, middle, or late pace ratings, but this horse knows how to win on a muddy track, knows how to win on deep dirt, and has proven he has the speed ability and the ability to beat quality horses. And at 30-1, wow. I mean, I'm all in.
Yeah,
but
I honestly, I followed that horse. I picked him in several of the prep races coming up. I loved him when he kind of made his stakes debut and gave Lonnie Briley that race win that you want, the graded stake. But the last time I thought perhaps there were some excuses. He did just look short a bit. It looked like there was potentially distance limitations. You end up with that from the breeding potentially. But then, the horse that ended up beating him, Sandman, that day, I really think is a horse on the improve right now. And I think it's deserving second choice. I mean, 5 straight improving equibase speed figures. I mean, off the career best, seems to be getting better as the distances get longer. I think that horse should be running late. And I do think that horse could figure prominently in the exotics for sure. And I think that horse has got a real shot of being in, the top 3. And you might want to key around Sandman as well on this with journalism, sadly. But, those 2 horses, I think, have a great shot of being in the top 3 for sure. But the 130-1 that I thought you were going to say that I really like to show up in this race is Final Gambit.
Oh, okay.
That Brad Cox horse, I understand this will be the very first time that horse has run on dirt. I get it. But, we've seen horses come out of the Jeff Ruby before.
Rich Strike.
And run very well in the Derby. And I honestly think this horse is definitely on the improve. If in that last race, if you go back and watch that last race, the move that horse made from dead last over that track that day was like a horse running on turf. I mean, you don't see that type of kick in and acceleration coming down the lane. Should be a huge price, and I think that horse will pick up a piece. May not be able to win the race, but I think Brad Cox has got this horse ready to kind of run a big race from the back of the pack with a speed favor, with a speeded setup. And I like that horse at 30-1 to kind of spice up the exotics. He's my super long shot in here for sure.
No, I mean, especially being by not this time.
Yeah.
Hot as heck right now. No, 30-1 more line. Okay.
Yeah, watch that race. It's an eye-catching move to come from last to first in that race and win. So
it's actually surprising how good of a prep that is, being on synthetic there. But okay, no, I like that. I'm definitely not going to knock a 30-1, but I want to go back to Sandman because he is also my 3rd pick. So I have Cole Battle over journalism over Sandman. The problem is, I think with this whole influencer stuff with Griffin Johnson and now Netflix, he's going to be bet down like crazy, I think.
Yeah.
And he's got a lot to overcome. He'd be the first Tappet, progeny of Tappet to ever win the Derby, and they've gone 0 for 14. Number 17, post 17, since 1930 when they first started using the gate at the Kentucky Derby, 0 for 45. So he's got to overcome that as well. But like you said, just what an improving horse. He's literally gotten better with every single start, all the way since you picked him back in the Iroquois in September.
Yeah.
Or no, that was John. You picked Jonathan's Way. I picked Sandman. You picked Jonathan's Way in the Iroquois. But yeah, ever since that, he's just wow, just impressive. And even what was that? The Southwest, he jumped, lugged in out of the gate. Is way behind. I was actually on the set of ABR in the Pegasus World Cup. We were watching with Terry Finley of West Point Thoroughbreds and Griffin Johnson. We're watching live, and as soon as Sandman jumped in, Terry's like, man, thought it was over. geez, this horse is just flying, flying, flying. You know, I didn't really have any excuse for him in the Rebel. Just I think Cold Battle's that good. And then he was able to get him in the Arkansas Derby. So I don't see any reason why these horses aren't going to run in the money together, or at least in the top 5.
The additional distance, I think, helps Sandman tremendously, and I think that's that final that final piece of the Derby is always where the positions change so much. I think be just grinding home nicely. So I think Sandman gets there. I love the Final Gambit to do the kind of the same thing. I'll give you a couple other things now. I don't know that there's going to be any scratches, and there likely won't at this point. But if there are, and Baeza gets in, watch out. I actually think Baeza is the second best horse in the race to me, to journalism. I mean, just the way that horse is improving, plus the pedigree. Come on, Half to Mage and Dornoch. Those horses have done a few things in the last 2 years, right? So, I mean, Puka keeps dropping beautiful horses, right?
No, and just that progression alone, 82 to a 94 to 104 to a 107.
It just
breaks his maiden and then runs second to arguably the best 3-year-old in North America right now.
And if you go back and watch that race, watch the gallop out. I mean, we always talk about that. Watch the gallop out afterwards. Journalism wins, kind of catches him and wins the race. But the gallop out, Baeza gallops out way past journalism. So,
he does, yeah.
I would say just watch those usually. If you're going to handicap races, people that listen to this show probably already do that. But watch the gallop outs after race replays because you can see a lot about that. And I think Baeza is coming in well. I think that horse, if Baeza gets in, I think that's your journalist. Baeza will battle it out, but I don't know that Baeza will get in. So let me give you a couple others that I think you got to look at when you look at this big field. And we haven't talked about a lot of these, but the Japanese horse Luxor Cafe. Did you give that one a look? Because I think the consistency wants to kind of come from off the pace. And I think last year's Forever Young coming a nose, from getting up there. I think the Japanese curse at some point has to end. And I think Luxor Cafe may not win the race, but I wouldn't be surprised if he gets his name called there in that final, quarter furlong.
No, that horse definitely, of the two Japanese horses coming in, I think he's by far and away a lot better. And also for all you Equibase Past Performance fans, we have now officially charted all of the Japan races for the undercard as well as the Derby. So very cool if you want to get in on the action on equibase.com at checkout. But I mean, this horse honestly has a very similar running style as Forever Young. So it's just, I feel like they just run against each other out there. And it's just so difficult to, I don't know. I have a hard time with those Japanese horses. I wish I knew more about it. Maybe I should make that a goal. 2025.
Generally, in the past in the Derbies, you say, look, just history says they aren't going to win. Last year, Forever Young really kind of made me think, it's something's going to, one of these years it's going to happen. And I wouldn't be surprised if Luxor Cafe hits the board here. I don't think Luxor Cafe is going to win, to be honest with you, but I think that's a good chance of making a run to spice up some exotics in there too.
Well, I want to ask you about Sovereignty. Woo, what a pretty horse that is.
Gosh knows. I mean, that horse was way back the last time I was on this podcast. I love that horse, coming into the Fountain of Youth that day. But I honestly think the horse ran its best race that day. I think Bill Mott knows exactly how to train a horse into this spot. I was just so disappointed in the Florida Derby performance. Just so disappointed.
I thought he didn't really run that hard on purpose. I think he was already in. I don't think he really needed to kill himself that day. And he still finished second, but he didn't look amazing, but I don't really think he went all out. But the fact he's also never broken 100 is a little bit worrisome.
Yeah.
At 5 to 1.
Beautifully bred.
Yeah.
Gorgeous horse, looks the part. If looks were the winner of the Derby, that horse would look the part of the Derby winner, and you could see it. And look, I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised if that horse ends up coming close. I just think journalism's, the consistency of journalism, it's a better horse. And look, it's all about the trip you get too. So I get.
Well, that's the thing. Maybe this pace doesn't. It's 45 and 8 or something like that. Jeez. That just sets up so perfect for Sovereignty, with Junior aboard. So
I like that, Junior back aboard again, which is good too. So
It's just so hard to gamble these races because they're just all
It's
so
tough because these are all stakes winners, right? I mean,
yeah,
these are the
they're
best.
all so good.
It's what makes this.
Well, except for the maiden publisher.
Yeah, you got it. I mean, but then again, let's talk a little bit about one that I think number one, we haven't talked about any of the Baffert yet, which is interesting.
Yeah.
But Grande.
Oh man, super talented horse. I just don't think it's his time right now. But going on later in the summer, we get to Traverse. That could be one that's really interesting.
Look at that jump between the last race to this. And again, that was another one where Rodriguez had it all his own way on the front end. And Grande made up some ground, looked good finishing. I genuinely tend to treat the Wood with a little bit of suspect.
Same.
But I do think that horse is on the improve. Again, all of these horses to me are battling for second in my mind. I think Journalism wins the race. So you're looking at trying to fill out some spots underneath. And if you can be confident on the top, you can make some money by finding some spots below.
I can't remember a year where both the Oaks and the Derby had a very clear favorite. Like Torpedo Anna was 4-1 last year. Yeah. I mean, I think the lowest horse on the odds was 3-1 in the Oaks last year and higher in the Derby. And we got 2 this year that are top tier fillies and colts.
Yeah, and it may just end up being good cheer to journalism in that Oaks Derby double.
Yeah. And another one that's been working really well out in the mornings, and also the only bet I ever made at NHC was on this horse because my phone was getting blocked. So I only had a little bit of cash, so I bet on American Promise and the Virginia Derby while I was out there in Vegas. And geez. I mean, set the track record. I don't know if that's saying much at Colonial Downs because they never really run 9 furlongs. But still, I mean, he's just been working like a monster. So pretty in the mornings, trying to kind of replicate his father, Justify's shoes. And obviously, Dwayne Lucas has 4 wins, Kentucky Derby wins all time, second most. So I'm glad he kept Nick Juarez on there. I think that was a really cool move.
Yeah, and again, that track is different, but those fractions are absurd.
Yeah, it's just like what?
It's just an eye-catching number when you look at those fractions. What are you doing?
133.02.
133.02. And
it's so fast.
3/4 lanes.
I mean, if he had a different running style, but he's got a great post.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of detailed it off the top. There are 5 others that want that same position. So who knows? I mean, look, it's the coach. Who am I to question the coach? But yeah,
it's true. And for the Bafferts, I mean, I would, even if it was the best horse in the race, I would never bet on post position 1 in the Derby. I mean, you're just gonna get slammed. I learned that lesson with Arch. I absolutely loved that horse way back in the day. This was 10 years ago, but he got the 1 hole and he actually ended up breaking his leg that day. He got slammed so hard, but
Good story, Ben. Yeah.
Well, just yeah. Okay. Sorry. Okay. Anyway, but Rodriguez, same thing. That the Wood to me is not that great, and they lost to Journalism and Barnes and Citizen Bull out there. He did beat Baeza though by 7 lengths, which is really impressive. But that was when Baeza was still pretty green.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you can put that on there. I did hear Safi in one of his interviews said he doesn't even think Equus has a chance. So they're gonna just go.
Well, that's
like for real. Right? I don't know why he would say that. Burnham Square, interesting horse. Ian Wilkes, Brian Hernandez. I don't see it. That bluegrass that day, that was a great stretch run to catch East Avenue, who had his day, but
I'm tossing really anybody that came out of the bluegrass. I think that race.
It has never produced a Kentucky Derby winner in its history. So
this is a very, very. I think it was a weak running. Besides, there was a Hall of Fame horse in there, but I think other than that horse, it was a.
Oh, don't remind me. I was on some sort of watch list after that. I was so sad. I drove home in silence.
Well,
I only live like 10 minutes from Keeneland. It's a short drive, but it was just.
I do hope for those avid listeners of the show that Chancer McPatrick has a tremendous 4-year-old season. Like I just hope.
I do too. I actually went before that day, I went and introduced myself to Sean Flanagan. So what, just the nicest guy. I told him, I was like, dude, I love your horse. Like, I'm straight up in love with your horse.
Yeah.
He was so cool about it. And hopefully he comes back. He's training well. He's still at Keeneland for Brown. So I think he worked Monday morning, but nothing special. But he's still out and about.
Yeah, absolutely. And so before we kind of move to the next races, because people are listening to this and want to know exactly about how do I bet the Kentucky Derby? Ben, how are you going to bet this race?
I think I'm going to do some trifectas. I'm obviously going to key journalism first, second, third. But I'll probably put Sandman, Coal Battle, and Sovereignty and journalism on top over a bunch. It could be a big bet, but last year's trifecta paid like $650 for the I think they're worth it.
They really are, and it's the only time a year where you look at what there's money in the pools that really have never watched a race before. I mean, literally, there's money in the pool that has. Yeah,
as Scott Cole says, dead money. Take advantage. Money.
What I always say, that's the reason that you bet this. It is tough because it's, you got a bunch of 3-year-olds going a distance none of them have ever gone before. There's no proof in the pudding that they can actually get the distance. It's basically the maturation curve at this time of year is so intense that horses are just rapidly improving so fast. You just don't know. It's harder to handicap, but that's why I think it also has value. I also think that if you can find a way to take a massive stand on a horse that you love. And I think journalism wins this race. I just think it's the best horse. It's a rare year. I would love to be able to key, a 10-1 on top, but if I'm going to key journalism to win this race. And I think if I get 3-1 or higher, I'm going to play him straight up to win. And if I obviously I'm also going to key him in the top spot and then put below, Final Gambit, Luxor Cafe, Grande, Sandman. If Baeza gets in, for sure. And then, potentially Coal Battle as well. And I think that's where you then find out that in your second and third spots, and that'll pay pretty well. And, if I get Final Gambit in there and you get Sandman, Final Gambit, and journalism, it'll still pay well, So I think you're going to look at a couple of big tries that I think are the best way to play it. But if you can take a stand with one horse on top or one horse, somewhere in the spot, then, you can get away with playing a much larger ticket and still cash and create a bunch of value.
One Derby tradition I have is every year I pick one horse, do 100 to win. That's kind of been my thing. Last year I picked Stronghold, didn't work out, but I'm gonna go for the marbles. I'm gonna do 100 to win on Coal Battle this year.
I hope for your sake and Lonnie Briley's sake and every horse that didn't have a shot out there. I really hope he comes in because I love that little horse. I just think that the last race showed a bit of distance limitations for me. So I can't put him on top, but he'll go into the underneath bets for sure.
Well, there you have it. Your 151st running of the Kentucky Derby this Saturday. Now we're going to go a little bit to the undercard here because why not, right? So we got the Grade 2 Pat Day Mile, which is race 6 at Churchill on Saturday. 1 mile on dirt for 3-year-olds. Last year's winner was Seize the Gray for trainer D. Wayne Lucas for Jamie Torres aboard. Fun fact. As Jamie Torres' first ever graded stakes win as a jockey. Seize the Gray went on to win the Grade 1 Preakness Stakes following his win in the Pat Day Mile, along with a win in the Grade 1 Pennsylvania Derby in September before retiring after his bid in the Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile. Excellent field of 9. I love this race so much, and I also have a full single, but I want to hear who you picked.
Man. So, it is. These are the 3-year-olds that decided that Derby was a little too deep, right?
This is where Owen Almighty should be, but
yes, exactly, and probably Neo Equus should be, but
yeah, and then Baeza, the best horse, would have gotten it anyway. All right, that's it.
Baeza would have been the favorite in here, I think, by a country mile. But anyway, in this race, I'm tossing the favorite. All right, I'm tossing Macadec Road. Okay,
same.
Madaket Road, sorry, 2-1. So Baffert has won the Pat Day Mile twice. With record in 2006, souvenir copy in 98. Baffert and Ortiz are only 18% all time together, 5 of 28. He's 0 for 5 at Churchill Downs together all time. And they've teamed up for 13 stakes races. They won their first 2 in 2020 together. They're 0 for 11 cents together. So I'm tossing the favorite 2-1 with Baffert on Madaket Road. I am going with his other horse, Gaming, at 3-1.
Okay. All right.
Not-
That's my second pick. I
not-
respect it.
That horse is such a weird horse when you watch past performance.
Yeah, he is.
The horse just seems to never quit, but seems like you have to scrub on that horse early in every race to keep that horse going. He's huge.
Yeah.
That horse is huge. And Baffert and Johnny V win at 30% together in dirt graded stakes races at a mile or longer over the past 5 years. So that's pretty good. Johnny V started, to really get after Gaming in that last race before the final far turn. If you go back and watch Gaming's race in the Hot Springs, and that horse I thought was dead, but all of a sudden you watch all of a sudden here in the stretch, here comes Gaming again. It wasn't until mid stretch that Gaming really started to kick in, and then kind of came back on in the end. And I think this horse just needs to be ridden hard to keep up and keep going. And I do think it's probably the best horse in the race in my mind. And I think the horse to probably beat in here. And you love this race a lot. I didn't love it as much, but I do think Gaming's the best horse in the race. And I think that's where Baffert will make his move back at Churchill Downs on Derby Day.
Okay. No knock. I mean, Gaming ranked first in average class, 99, ranked first average speed, 109, late pace rating of 103.5, ranked second in here. He's got a grade 1 win under his belt beating Citizen Ball. So no knock at all, but I'm going to single the 2 here. Built morning line of 7-2. Okay. Was a Derby contender all the way up until last week when trainer Wayne Catalano entered him in the Pate Mile instead, which I think was a fantastic move. Interestingly enough, Umberto Rispoli is aboard for the first time. He's been winning at 21% first time riding in the past 6 months from 111 starts. I had to go way back on the Pramana Lab shift tool in 1991, but Umberto and Catalano have never had a start together all time. So kind of interesting. Yeah, never. So broke his maiden in the second start of his life, going 7 furlongs in the dirt at Keeneland. Maiden special weight, running a 90. Go base speed figure, render judgment, a Kentucky Derby contender, finished second. That maiden special race came back to win in his next start. Takes a couple month layoff, kind of odd, but comes back to run in the Gun Runner Stakes at Fairgrounds in late December and just absolutely runs off. Win by 6 3/4 lengths, earning a career best 103 equibase speed figure, going 1 mile and 16th on the dirt. Magnitude finished a distant second in the Gun Runner, but came back to win the Grade 2 Risen Star by 9 3/4 lengths, odds of 43-1. Obviously overbilled, but and following the Gun Runner, built runs second by a neck to Disco Time in the Grade 3 Lecomte Stakes over a sloppy fairgrounds track, going 1 mile and 16th. So I just love that he's versatile and could run well in the slop. Could make a big difference with this weather here Saturday. It was only supposed to be rain in the morning. They changed it to all day Friday. It was storming really bad here in Lexington last night. So it's going to be wet, but so last 2 starts were not the best, finishing third by 9 3/4 lengths to Magnitude, going 1 mile and 8th in the dirt. Last time out runs 5th by 7.5 lengths in the Grade 2 Louisiana Derby, going 1 mile and 3/16 on the dirt. And the March, they added blinkers for the first time as well in that Louisiana Derby. I think just turn back to a mile is just what this horse needs. Just so glad they didn't put this horse in the Derby. Kudos to Catalano and Eclipse Thoroughbred Partners for not trying to make horse into something that they aren't. Coming off a really nice 5 furlong bullet, 59.4 at Churchill. I think things are just setting up really nicely. Yeah, he's kind of been regressing since that 103, but I think he's just going right back to where he belongs at this mile.
Yeah,
I think he's just going to romp.
I agree. I have I like Bill a little bit. I honestly I don't think he's going to romp. I don't think that's true, but okay. I do think there's some value for me underneath. And one of the horses that has needed a cutback forever and ever is Innovator. Coach, and Torres pull off the upset again this year. After last year, still sees the gray last year. So I don't know. We've always thought that Innovator was kind of a long fuse sprinter. He's cutting back in the distance. A mile might fit him fine. I don't know. He's kind of a need the lead type. When last seen at Churchill Downs, he ran that bang up race, against Barnes, and a repeat of that effort probably puts him somewhere in the picture. That was way shorter, but I think this horse loves a sloppy track. And if it is, this horse may relish it. And again, you may end up with a go to the front, see how far we can go, kind of a thing, right? And
well, you did pick him in the little comp, right? And I was like, there ain't no way this horse is going past a mile, and he hung so well. I
no
was
way.
wow.
Again, as I said, he may find that nicely sealed track and just go, and he did. He got to the front, got almost home, but did not. So, but I'm telling you, at 20-1, that's a spice underneath that could be interesting. And I think there's the interesting sneaky one to me that I think at an interesting price is Smokin' Wicked.
I was just about to say that.
I mean, that one, this is why I think this horse is really sneaky because, the Equibase speed figures are huge in sprint races. I mean, he's got a 112 on the board up there, right? And that 7 furlong race at Churchill back in the fall would put him into this one for sure. And if he can get another furlong, I mean, this is interesting because it's a 1-turn configuration, at Churchill. Yeah. And it makes this mile a little interesting, right? So, it's just like an elongated 7 furlong, 1 turn. Let's see if he can keep that extra furlong there. And, he's faced some real runners. At 12-1, he might end up with a price. Dallas Stewart and Brian Hernandez, they team up for a lot of stakes races. They're 119 stake races together, to be exact. They finished in the money in 40% of those. So wow. I'm not saying that this horse is going to win, but 12-1, he's got every right to kind of be up there and hanging on for a piece.
Yeah, if he was coming in this race off the Rebel, I'd say that would be a big, big gamble. But the fact that he came back and was able to run a 101, get second to Caligula in the Lafayette Keeneland, that could be a real runner as well. That could be a nice exacta built on top of Smokin' Wicked.
For sure.
But regardless, I did like the race. I apologize if you didn't like it. It was between that and the Ali Sheba because I should have won. But this Derby City Distaff.
Yeah, let's go there. There's some race. Let's not say I don't want to discount it because I love every stakes race on Derby Day. But I enjoyed the handicapping the Oaks and the Derby a little bit better. And the Distaff, I like this one a little bit.
It's a great race. I got some big prices, 2 poppers for you. But anyway, Grade 1 Derby City Distaff Stakes, race 10 on Saturday at Churchill. 7 furlongs on the dirt for fillies and mares, 4-year-olds and up. Last year's winner was Vava for trainer Sherry DeVaw with Irad Ortiz Jr. aboard. Vava is back in here this year to try and defend her title from post 7. You think she can repeat or no?
No. Again, you don't like the West Coast horses coming east. I like Mandela's Copian at 8-1.
Oh, okay. Yes. Yeah. That horse looks like a monster.
I mean, I love Copian. I mean, 8-1 to me is if I get 8-1, go to the windows, please. I mean, this is one so impressively last out in the Santa Monica and watch the races. I implore handicappers to watch the races. Go back and watch them. I realize it was only a 4-horse race, which is stupid. I mean, that's just, I hate the fact California racing has become that. But, even Hope Road, who's also in here, wasn't even in the frame at the wire. Okay? Yeah. That horse was just unbelievable. And his paired wins in the La Brea, the Santa Monica, a 109 and a 111 back-to-back speed figure. I mean, Mandela hasn't run a horse at Churchill Downs since 2018, so that's a while.
Okay. I only could see 5 on Raceland, so I was about to say that.
It's a long time ago. Kazushi Kimura has only ridden 2 horses at Churchill all time, both in the Derby. Mandarin Hero in 2023, finishing 5th, and last year with Teo Password. I like
finishing 5th.
That's correct. I like the 7 furlong work by Mandela on the 25th. I mean, this is it's a perfect Mandela move, right? He worked the distance of the race, so 7 days ahead, right? She will likely need to go between Scylla and Bernadetta. I mean, he's going to have to go a bit there, but can avoid trouble. I look for her to win, and I think if I get that 8-1. I think keeps moving forward as a 4-year-old, and that horse could be any kind. So the 8-1 just screams, wow. I mean, all in on that horse. All in.
Okay. No, yeah, I can't knock that. That's definitely my other top contender at 8-1 and everything you just said. And going back past 3 years of domestic shippers and graded stakes races, he hardly ever leaves Cal. He went to 24%. So, one of 4 plus 48% return on investment though. So yeah, it's just such a consistent filly, so could be the real deal. I would really, really doubt you'll get 8-1, but for yourself. I
know. I mean, and again, when you handicap, you have to look at morning lines, but again, you have to know that's going to be down, probably cut in half on Derby Day.
Yeah. And I do like Ways and Means. I picked her for the test back in the day, Pratt and Brown and graded stakes is nuts. I just don't like she hasn't had a race since the Breeders' Cup filly and mare sprint. losing to Soul of an Angel only by a length and a quarter. But I mean, amazing until that 80 to a 105 to a 106 to a 106 to a 109. But yeah, that was a long time ago. It doesn't seem like that long because this year has been going so fast. But geez,
I can't get with Ways and Means after what you did to me in the Oaks last year. I picked her up and I left her sitting on a great race, and then just lost.
Yeah. I didn't go with her. I actually went with a 12-1 here. My Main Squeeze. 4-year-old filly by Audible for the Mike Maker barn with Luis Saez aboard. Saez was aboard on My Main Squeeze for 6 starts in a row last year. Was off My Main Squeeze last time out in the Grade 1 Madison because earlier in that day he fell off his mount. And Manny Franco rode that day. But Luis is back and healthy and riding lights out at this meet. He's winning at 38% so far, 6 wins from 16 starts, including racing yesterday, and 12 in the money from 16 starts. But My Main Squeeze, very consistent filly. Only ran out of the money twice her whole career. 14 starts, 6 wins, 2 seconds, 4 thirds, with 1.1 million lifetime earnings. Last 3 starts were all triple-digit Equibase speed figures. She's run against a lot of the fillies entered in here recently. Has always run well. I was able to stick with them, but now she's back in her home court. All right, so horses for courses. All right, baby. The best 2 races of her career by far and away were over this Churchill dirt. Going back to May 3rd last year, she won the Grade 2 8 Bells by 2 lengths, earning a career best 102. Saez aboard over a sloppy track. That's important. And back in September of last year, she went off in the Grade 3 Dogwood to win by 5 lengths, earning another 102 Equibase speed figure. The worst for me is this post, and I'm very scared she's going to get herself too far back. But if she can kind of get mid-pack and stay 5th, 6th, I think she's going to run a really nice race. But in a race like this, where all these horses just keep running against each other, I think you just got to pick one and go. It's really hard with exotics, it's just the difference between them is so minimal. But yeah, Copian too. Gosh, it's hard not to pick.
It's a great win play for me, and I'm not even going to look underneath. That's a straight win bet for me. Yeah,
no, it's definitely a win bet type race, but fun race to handicap. Jeez,
absolutely.
Very talented fillies. Well, Corey, this has been a blast. I've just had the best time talking Oaks and Derby. I'll be headed out to Churchill later today. I'm going to staying at my mom's house for the rest of the week. She's right there next to Churchill at the track. So
go cash some tickets this weekend. Have a great time with, I think, one of the best weekends in sports. And
it is. It might be a little damp, but that's all right.
No,
older khakis, older shoes. We'll be all right.
There you go. Every year, the potentiality of it, right? So we know that you got to adjust your handicapping based upon it. So by the time you listen to this, maybe the weather forecast is improved. We'll see. You never know this time of year in Kentucky. So
yeah, for real. But anyway, thank you all so much for watching. Good luck in your wagers in the Oaks and Derby. We'll see you next week.